Today saw a slew of statistics released on the state of Scottish schools. The report card revealed that the number of full-time equivalent teachers in the past year dropped by 621 to 53,412. Absenteeism from pupils remains a big issue, with 2 in 5 secondary school students persistently missing classes. Meanwhile, the number of kids with additional support needs has reached a record high of more than 284,000. That's a figure that's more than doubled in the past decade. The Education Secretary, Jenny Gilruth, spoke to STV, beginning with her reaction to falling teacher numbers.
Undoubtedly, I'm disappointed, particularly when the Scottish Government provided additionality for that, although I'm very glad that we've been able to reach this agreement with COSLA in restoring our teacher numbers back to 2023 levels. So the data that's published today has shown a slight increase in relation to pupils with an identified additional support need. And of course, in the last financial year alone, the Scottish Government has provided record investment of £926 million, and that's helped to support 725 extra learning support assistants in our schools. And we're working with COSLA through our ASL action plan on a number of different actions to help support schools in terms of the increase in ASM pupils. The figures that I've published today show record attainment in relation to primary schools, particularly in terms of numeracy and literacy. They also show evidence of a narrowing attainment gap. And of course, this builds on the progress that published this time last year with ASL data, which is predicated on teacher judgment. So I think we are starting to see real progress because of the investments made by this government.
With us now, the former teacher, James McInerney, who writes on education for the Herald. Thanks for joining us, James. So we're talking about, initially we heard the Minister talking there about the teachers. Total number of teachers has fallen. Why is that?
Budgets seems to be the most obvious thing. There's been lots of coverage, for example, of Glasgow that's had to go on a programme of, quite openly saying they're going to reduce teacher numbers because of budget constraints that they faced, and that's something that's kind of been the case across the board, across the country. And councils have said over and over again that they just didn't have the money to maintain numbers. Not every council, but a lot of councils. And
is it also the number of pupils are falling, so that actually doesn't impact overly as much as you might expect?
The number of pupils that has changed and does kind of change over time. I don't really get the sense that that's what's driving this, though. There's not really much of a sense that what's happening here is like a really careful, reasoned analysis of numbers and figuring out what we need. There is much more a sense here that nobody really wants to see these numbers going down. It's not a case that we're looking and saying, well, it'll be okay. Everyone kind of recognises that this is a sign of things going in a direction that we don't want them to.
I know there's so many things in the statistics.
Could be here a long time.
So, but also this a record high number of pupils with additional supports and needs, ASN, 40%. That's extraordinary. So
it's a very, very high figure. This is just gone over 40% for the first time. We're actually doing a sort of whole series in this just now at the Herald. So I've been looking at the numbers. Not very long ago, it was like 5%. And now we've got 40. Now, nobody really thinks all those kids with extra needs have just appeared out of nowhere in the last 10 years. They were always there, maybe not getting the help that they are entitled to. But that doesn't explain all of it, because when you look at the numbers over that kind of period, you see things like a several 100% increase in the number of kids receiving additional support for a mental health problem. Right. So there are interesting and quite worrying overlaps across some of the data. What's come out today is a kind of headline figure. In a few months' time, we'll then get a more detailed breakdown, and that'll let us see the individual reasons. But the increase is dramatic, and it's had a major impact on teachers and in classrooms.
Is that a COVID legacy, or is it more than that?
Oh, this predates that. Some of it, again, might be coming from COVID, because that might have encouraged maybe a more proactive approach to identifying issues and finding support. But this isn't something that's come out of the COVID pandemic, particularly once you look at the stats going back, as I say, at the top of my head, I think it's 2007 I was looking at most recently. And from there, you've just got this unbelievable line just like shooting, diagonally across the page.
Because ASN is the net is far wider than it used to be.
Partly, we're getting better at identifying a lot of the things that...
It's not always just children with neurodiverse issues.
No, that's one of the things. It's not actually... some people think it kind of conflate additional support needs and disability. But one of the additional support needs criteria, for example, is a child who has suffered from bereavement. We also look at care experience kids. We also include young carers. We actually also include a admittedly very small number of young people deemed to be of particularly high ability as well.
Right.
So additional support needs is people who need a bit of extra help to fully engage with the curriculum and to meet their full potential. The problem